Mismanaged funds. New tonight in our news live at 7. The international implications the Prime Minister says could cost the Bahamas as debate on the new fiscal budget begins. This as the Bahamas prepares to welcome the first sitting U.S. Vice President for bilateral talks. Climate change top on the agenda. Also, family island infrastructure development, the focus of tonight's Work in Progress segment. And then at our news at 7:30, reaction over government's proposed NIB rate hike in 2024. Our news live at 7 starts now. Welcome to our news live at 7. Thanks for joining us. I'm Candino Knowles. The Bahamas could find itself in a tough position following another natural disaster or even pandemic. The grim prediction coming from the Prime Minister this morning. The PM telling parliamentarians that grave mismanagement of public funds and failure to account has weakened the trust of international loan agencies. Berthany McDermott has the details.
Unanswered questions about the management of finances during the COVID-19 emergency orders and Hurricane Dorian could have major international implications. That's according to Prime Minister Philip Davis, who says should the Bahamas experience another catastrophic hurricane, we may have a difficult time getting financial assistance.
If we are not transparent and if we do not hold those who abuse the public trust accountable, we run the risk of losing credibility ourselves and trust in the international community.
When the Davis administration took office in September 2021, it revealed funds associated with the National Food Distribution Task Force weren't accounted for. Back in March, Davis said one nonprofit organization went on a spending spree with funds meant for the program. Kicking off debate on the 2023-2024 budget, Davis reaffirmed his government's commitment to getting answers.
There's a deep suspicion that not all the funds were used in the way they were supposed to be. These suspicions have been deepened by the fact that many organizations involved are reluctant or unable to answer even basic questions.
The program was formed back in 2020 to provide emergency food assistance to many in need during the hardship caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The program ended once the PLP took office, with the Davis-led government saying there were no records of how money was spent. Davis says anything that adds to the national debt must be properly explained and accounted for the Bahamian people.
The lack of transparency, the lack of proper records, the complete disregard for procurement policies did not happen by accident. It was by design. Once again, it is critical that any activity that contributes to the additional national debt has a justifiable return on investment.
Reporting for our news, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks a lot, Berthany. Well, we could be seeing new draft building codes this fall, according to Building Control Officer in the Ministry of Works and Utilities, Craig Delancey. The code has only been revised twice before, the first time in 1987 and most recently 20 years ago in 2003.
We're currently working on the upgrade of the Bahamas Building Code, which will also improve standards for construction and also to include energy efficiency and resiliency in going forward. We are currently working on the code along with our consultants, McDonald, and we're hoping that we may have a draft code by the fall of this year for consultation.
Delancey, who spoke with our news outside the 2023 Bahamas National Quality Policy Re-Engagement Forum, held under the theme Strengthening the National Quality Infrastructure through Enhanced Standards and Metrology Services, also talking to us about how vital metrology is in our daily lives, especially when it comes to construction. Put simply, metrology is the science of measurement. It's what makes sure the gallon you pay for at the pump is truly a gallon, that the ingredients, their amounts, and nutritional value on your food labels are accurate, and that the concrete you use to build is up to standard.
Metrology is important in all aspects of our daily living, and in particular with construction, the area I'm familiar with. It's important that standards in construction, making sure that the construction materials, the blocks, the wood that you use, that they are meeting certain standards for construction, and that will help to increase the integrity of your buildings.
Now to police, who say they need your help tonight tracking down a suspect who shot a 26-year-old man last night. Police say the incident happening just after 9 o'clock as the victim was walking through a tracked road just off West Bay Street when the suspect approached and shot the man multiple times. We are told he is now in hospital in stable condition. If you have any information on the case, you are asked to contact the Criminal Investigations Department at 502-9991-919 or 328-TIPS. Well, the Met Department issuing a special weather statement for significant rainfall and flooding for the southeast and central Bahamas, with forecasters saying the bulk of rainfall is expected in the central Bahamas, and that's expected to continue into Saturday. Meteorologist Greg Thompson, he's standing by in the Weather Center with more on this. Greg, I know I saw some videos today, I think out of Exuma, where we were seeing a lot of flooding.
Yeah, social media was active.
Sure.
We had a lot of social media posts earlier today, and the rainfall is continuing.
Yeah, and that flooding connected to this system, right?
Yep, it is connecting, and of course we are expecting more rainfall, as you mentioned, for the next couple of days. So we're asking residents in the central and southeast Bahamas to remain vigilant as that moisture train will continue for us. But quickly outside our studios, we are cleared up a bit. We did have some clouds and some showers earlier. Temperature right now it's 83 degrees with few clouds. Humid conditions, the winds out of the southwest at 9 miles per hour, and your field strike temperature is at 83. Talking about that moisture plume moving across the area, lots of moisture across the northwest, central, and southeast Bahamas. As you mentioned, the bulk staying in the central and southeast Bahamas, showers and thunderstorms. That's all courtesy of an upper level jet or dip in the jet stream that's moving into the Gulf of Mexico, and that's pumping a lot of moisture across the area. You notice Florida is now flaring up a lot of showers and thunderstorms, so the northwest Bahamas is not out of the picture, but the bulk of the rainfall will remain in the central and southeast Bahamas. Water vapor showing that dip in the jet right into the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of tropical moisture coming out of the Caribbean, and that's going to continue to spread across us. Showers will be locally heavy, so we expect more flooding across the central and southeast Bahamas, possibly even across the northwest Bahamas, some locally heavy flooding in some areas. But the bulk of it will stay in the central Bahamas, Georgetown, Exumas, Long Island, San Salvador, Cat Island. Those locations expected to see up to 4 to 6 inches and some isolated amounts, even up to about 8 to 10 inches. So it's going to be a rather wet weekend. Satellite view showing the convection associated with that. As I said, now across the central and southeast Bahamas, Haiti, Cuba getting in on some of that, and that orographic lift or moisture moving up along those mountain ranges will cross over and get into us. So expect some more showers over the next couple of days, and as I mentioned, flooding is very possible, and some of those showers and thunderstorms will be strong to severe at times, so we could be seeing some severe thunderstorm warnings issued. Back to you, Candino.
Still to come on our news, the first sitting U.S. Vice President to visit the Bahamas makes her way here tomorrow. Kamala Harris to co-host bilateral talks with CARICOM over climate change. This as regional leaders expected to meet in Jamaica next week for solutions to the political and economic crises over in Haiti. And the major work that's being done in the Family Islands in tonight's Work in Progress segment when our news returns.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Last the 12th, your family tortured my first wife and stole my second favorite goat. Now you want to marry my daughter. Okay.
All the taste, no bitter endings. Smooth, fresh, silver.
We are hours away from the historic visit of United States Vice President Kamala Harris. She's the first sitting U.S. VP to visit the Bahamas to meet with Caribbean leaders and advance efforts on combating climate change. She and Prime Minister Philip Davis, who currently serves as chair of the Caribbean community, will co-host the meeting. What makes this visit somewhat personal to us is her connection to this region, as Harris, who is the first black and first female vice president of the United States, is of Jamaican descent. We know the discussions with Harris will center on the issue of climate change, but ahead of tomorrow's visit, Foreign Minister Fred Mitchell telling our news regional leaders are expected to bring up the issue of Haiti as it continues to face an ongoing humanitarian crisis. This as the country recorded deadly floods over the weekend, compounded by a 4.9 magnitude earthquake in the south early yesterday morning. Now be sure and stay tuned to ournews.bs and on Facebook, that's at Our News Bahamas, for all the latest as we bring you coverage of this historic event. Meanwhile, a delegation from the Bahamas, including Prime Minister Philip Davis, will be in Jamaica next week, where regional leaders and stakeholders from Haiti will discuss the ongoing political and humanitarian crises. Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the meetings serve as a platform for dialogue, not interference.
While Jamaica and others in the region have a keen interest, it is also incumbent on all of us at this time to adopt a posture of non-interference in the process, while being active in support and allowing the space for the dialogue to be held.
And Jamaica's opposition leader Mark Golding saying, however, that any solution should not be overbearing.
Any attempt to impose on Haiti any extraterritorial solution, whether it be at the level of international development bodies or individual governments outside of Haiti, would be the wrong approach.
And now on a more somber note, parliamentarians dedicating the beginning of today's sitting to pay tribute to former PLP Cabinet Minister George Smith. Smith served as Member of Parliament for Exuma for 29 years before stepping down from frontline politics. MPs on the governing side remembering their fallen colleague as a dedicated public servant, nationalist, and a defender of all things Bahamian.
George was steadfast in his dedication to empowering ordinary Bahamians, and his tireless advocacy for progress and change will remain his enduring legacy.
He was gracious with his time and generous with his resources. We shared many lunches over the years, and I benefited tremendously from the wise counsel he would always offer.
Smith was a signatory at the Constitutional Conference in 1972, which laid the groundwork for Bahamian independence. He also held several cabinet posts, including Minister of Transport, Agriculture, and more recently, Special Advisor to the Prime Minister ahead of the 50th Independence celebration. Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard also paying tribute.
He made a contribution to this notion of being fearless in sharing your views. Secondly, speaking truth to power. Thirdly, maintaining ties across the political divide in a very meaningful way.
Well, we've detailed numerous ongoing and recently completed works in our family islands, and in tonight's Work in Progress segment, our Marlena Leonard, she's taking a look at the bigger picture.
There are a lot of recently completed, ongoing, and upcoming works in our family islands, so we've put together this summary based on our interview with Senior Engineer for the Family Islands, David Cox. So far, work has been recently completed or is ongoing across 9 family islands, including Bimini, Grand Bahama, Andros, Long Island, Abaco, Exuma, Great Harbor Key, Eleuthera, and Cat Island. 4 airports have recently completed works or have upcoming works planned. There are approximately 11 roadworks projects recently completed, ongoing, or upcoming for a grand total of approximately 184.5 miles of roads across the islands getting attention. 1 recently completed seawall project, 1 upcoming extensive waterworks project spanning approximately 90 miles, and contracts, including public-private partnerships, amounting to approximately $98.5 million based on the numbers provided. Cox also disclosed there are more major works expected for Long Island and Eleuthera coming soon, but are still in the pipeline for now. Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
When Our News comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as former Republican U.S. Vice President Mike Pence launches a campaign against his former boss. This as authorities in the Turks and Caicos intercept over 100 illegal migrants. And today in history, government responds to alleged spying by the NSA. The details when our news returns. This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence has officially stepped into the presidential race during a speech in Iowa. Pence, who spoke at length about the January 6th riots, said then President Donald Trump had asked him to choose between him and the U.S. Constitution following their 2020 election loss.
I believe that anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be President of the United States. And anyone who asks someone else to put them over the Constitution should never be President of the United States again.
Also from the United States, experts there saying that there is currently one of the most severe shortages of chemotherapy drugs it's seen for 3 decades. They say a myriad of factors have contributed to the shortages, which this time have heavily affected 2 frontline therapies, carboplatin and cisplatin, used to treat a host of cancers, including head and neck, gynecologic, and gastrointestinal cancers. As of this week, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said over 130 drugs were in short supply, 14 of them cancer treatments. The Vatican says Pope Francis has undergone abdominal surgery without complications. The hernia operation is said to have lasted 3 hours, and the 86-year-old is expected to stay in hospital for several days to recover. All of his commitments for the next 10 days have been canceled as a precautionary measure. The Pope has faced a series of health issues in recent years and uses a cane and wheelchair. In a statement, the Vatican said the Pontiff's medical team had decided in recent days that surgery was needed. And now to the region, as Suriname President Chandrika Prasad Santokhi left the country today to attend tomorrow's meetings here in the Bahamas between regional leaders and U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, Suriname's Minister of State for International Business and International Cooperation, Albert Ramden, telling the Government Communications Service that Santokhi will speak on how the country can play a pivotal role in helping CARICOM reduce its import bill. And a 23-year-old American tourist was fined $3,500 when he appeared before a judge in the Turks and Caicos Islands Supreme Court. Alex Guzman, a resident of Michigan, pleaded guilty to the charges on June 2nd. At his sentencing on June 5th, he was ordered to pay the fine or face 60 days in prison. This as TCI authorities say 3 minors were among 169 migrants intercepted in a vessel making its way to Providenciales on Monday. In that number, 38 females and 131 males, including the 3 minors. The migrants have since been handed over to the Immigration Task Force. Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was June 7th, including the 2021 extension of a COVID lockdown on Cat Island. And then in our news at 7:30, opposition criticism over government's NIB rate hike announcement addressed on the House floor. And how Tabernacle Baptist Academy is helping students amid tragedy. The story when our news continues. Welcome back to our news. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was June 7th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1494, the Treaty of Tordesillas was signed in Castile. It was drafted to settle a dispute between the kingdoms of Castile, later Spain, and Portugal as to who had the rights to colonize and trade in the new lands Columbus reached after his first voyage. The two countries asked Pope Alexander VI to mediate. He made a division along the meridian 370 leagues west of the Cape Verde Islands. The lands to the east would belong to Portugal, and the lands to the west to Castile. The Historical Society notes the ratification of this document put the Bahamas in the sphere of influence of the Kingdom of Castile, later the Kingdom of Spain. Fast forward to 1951, when Philip Edward Brave Davis was born in Nassau. Davis is an attorney, politician, member of Parliament, former Deputy Prime Minister, and current leader. Davis won the 2021 general election, defeating incumbent F&M leader Dr. Hubert Minnis. Then June 7, 1973, the national flag carrier Bahamas Air began operations, acquiring the routes of Flamingo Airlines as well as the operations and routes of Out Island Airways. Its inaugural flight went to Andros, followed by Freeport, Grand Bahama. Then 41 years later, in 2014, the Christie-led administration responded to reports the United States National Security Agency was allegedly spying on the mobile phone calls of Bahamians. Then Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell confirming that government had filed a federal disclosure document through U.S. lawyers Hogan and Laval in light of the claims. Then in 2016, the government held a constitutional referendum. On the ballot were 4 questions about citizenship and discrimination. All 4 questions were rejected. And finally, on this day in 2021, then Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis extended a lockdown imposed on Cat Island. This as health officials reported the cases of COVID-19 the month prior topped April's count at 232. The Grand Bahama Port Authority partnering with the Ministry of Grand Bahama and the Grand Bahama Independence Committee for a 50th Independence competition. Now, there are several categories. The first is a roundabout decoration competition for both government and port GBPA licensees.
But it's not all about the roundabouts. Grand Bahama's medium and small businesses are invited to decorate their doors and windows for a chance at prizes as well. The winner among the medium-sized business category will receive $3,500, and the selected winner in the small business category will receive $1,500. But wait, this competition isn't only about the businesses and roundabouts. In addition, we invite all Grand Bahamians island-wide to decorate their homes' front doors in true Bahamian style.
Port Authority Deputy Director and City Manager Troy McIntosh and Representative for Grand Bahama Independence Committee Siobhania McBride is encouraging public participation.
This initiative was born out of the original initiative that was done back in 2016, Deck the Roundabouts. And so we are excited today as the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the Ministry of Grand Bahama to extend that process to a 50-year anniversary.
We are excited and elated for residents to participate, to decorate their homes, their businesses, and the roundabouts. We want to encourage persons to help us decorate the city. We want you to show your patriotism. It is high time that we celebrate our 50th independence and remember our culture, where we came from and where we are going.
All right, well, let the decorations begin. To watch that story again and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. It's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Italia, are you gonna join the competition?
I'm not there right now. I would have loved to. The prizes are
great. You can still do it.
The prizes are great, but I'm excited to see what all the residents come together and do. But
for sure.
It sounds great. All right. Thanks so much, Ken. Well, we are following the debate on the new fiscal budget as the Prime Minister addresses opposition criticism over a proposed NIB hike in 2024. This is Residents Are Reacting. Here are your latest headlines.
The Prime Minister's rebuttal first tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. Why the nation's leader is hitting back at the opposition leader following his statements on an NIB rate hike set for 2024. This is Residents Are Reacting to the announcement of the NIB rate increase.
I feel like the increase is necessary, so I don't have a problem with it.
Plus, according to some experts, alternative energy is still the way of the future. Tonight, a business owner is sharing some of the benefits of solar energy. And later, an active love by a group of students as they assist two of their very own. Harehow Tabernacle Baptist Christian Academy in Freeport gives back to two students who are in need. Our news live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off labs, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. Prime Minister Philip Davis hitting back at Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard following the announcement that an increase to the National Insurance Board rates will increase on July 1st, 2024. According to the Prime Minister, Pintard's statement implied it will inflict pain on Bahamians.
Does he want us to adopt the approach of his F&M administration, which with no notice, even to some of their own parliamentarians, introduced a 60% increased VAT and 3 weeks later inflicted it on the Bahamian people? That approach caused pain and suffering. Yes. He should have learned from that act of folly, and instead chose the character of the supportive friend, acting in the best interest of the Bahamian people.
Davis stressing to parliamentarians that it isn't a tax, while the opposition leader quickly rose to his feet on a point of order, saying the Prime Minister misrepresented his statement on the matter.
The government failed to provide the required details which it had before in terms of what would that rate increase and what steps would be taken to remedy the existing problems in NIB. So at no point was this just about the pain being increased. It was a failure to be transparent about what had been decided, even though you're holding the information.
Well, our news team spoke to residents today to get their take on the announcement of the rate increase set to come at the National Insurance Board in 2024. Megan Shepard has more.
Residents are sharing mixed views as it relates to the announcement of a rate increase at the National Insurance Board. Although retired Pastor Washington Williams is in favor of the increase, Tara Ramming says as long as the rate increase is a necessity, she supports it.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't know how much it will be, but again, national insurance plays a very important part in our country.
Given a year's notice, it'll give the business community sufficient time to plan.
Meantime, Christine Fernandez says she does not support the increase.
I worked from I was 17 years old, and I want to make sure when I reach the age of 65 that I'm going to be able to benefit from the increase.
I'm always wondering, why is the government seem to always be legislating on tax increases to the Bahamian people as opposed to diversifying how the Bahamas makes money?
The Prime Minister did not indicate how much the rates will increase, but he did announce that it will come into effect July 2024. Miller says he believes the time frame is still not enough. Fernandez adding that as a businesswoman, she believes 1 year is still not enough time.
Constant taxation, you're relieving duty, but then you're increasing VAT. You're removing VAT from breadbasket items, but increasing national insurance contribution. I don't see where it makes sense.
We need to give them more than a 1 year notice so people at least can organize themselves and try to make plans on what they're gonna do.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
Thanks, Megan. Well, a 24-year-old man is now facing a murder charge after a man he allegedly shot died in hospital on May 10th. Charles Butler was initially charged with attempted murder in relation to the March 24th shooting of Theo Williams, who was also known as Gubba at Hospital Lane. He appeared before Assistant Chief Magistrate Subasola Swain today, charged with murder. He was denied bail and returns to court on September 6th to receive voluntary bill of indictment papers. Two men, ages 33 and 20 years old, were arrested after they were found in possession of dangerous drugs. Police say it was around 3:45 p.m. yesterday when officers executed a search warrant on a Soldier Road home. In the home, they found marijuana. The drugs have an estimated street value of $240. Investigations are continuing. Vice President of the United States Kamala Harris expected to arrive in New Providence tomorrow morning, but only for a few hours. Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell noting that heads of government from CARICOM countries have requested the multilateral meetings with the United States to discuss a range of issues, including climate change, national security, and food security. He says the common belief is that the U.S. is only interested in security talks.
In other words, drug interdiction, people smuggling, those issues. Financing for development is an important topic because we know that one of the reasons, as I said, in designing the budget the way it is because we need, as a country, the credit space because of our level of GDP per capita. No one's going to come to our rescue if something happens. We have to go to the markets and we have to find the money ourselves.
There will also be bilateral meetings between Prime Minister Philip Davis and the Vice President to discuss matters relevant to the Bahamas.
We are, of course, interested in pre-clearance returning to Grand Bahama. We're interested, of course, in the continued security cooperation, and we're interested in the Green Climate Initiative, which our shipping sector. And you know, my favorite hobby horse is the whole question of the United States and their visa policies for Bahamians. This is still a vexing problem as far as I'm concerned. It's an irritant in the relationship.
A lovely evening following lots of morning showers, and there's some more rain expected to come. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center live with a first look at weather. Greg, lots of rain this morning. I understand there was a lot of rain in Exuma as well.
Flooding. They had some serious from social media, what we saw. Some extensive flooding across and expecting some more rain, so flooding is still expected. Yeah, we have a bit of a break. There's some dry air mass moving across the northwest Bahamas, and that's caught us up into the mid-upper 80s, 82 degrees outside as Sirius right now. Few clouds, it is warm. Winds out of the west-southwest at 9 miles per hour. Your feels like temperature is at 83. Taking a look at the satellite and radar composite, a lot of moisture being pumped out of the Caribbean across our area, and that's courtesy of an upper-level trough or dip in the jet stream that's moving into the Gulf of Mexico. You know, some showers and thunderstorms approaching the Florida coast. That's ahead of that trough. That will push across our area, so we're looking for additional rainfall. Some flooding still possible across the central and southeast Bahamas. The Met Office prompting a special weather statement for that flooding, so we're asking residents down there to remain vigilant over the next couple of days. That's a quick check on weather conditions. Stick with us. Look at the extended forecast still to come.
Still to come on our news, alternative energy may be the way of the future. Hear why a local businessman says solar energy can save you lots of money. Also promoting digital currency. The Sand Dollar will now be available for top-up at one of your local grocery stores. We'll tell you which one. Plus, an act of love from students at Tabernacle Baptist Christian Academy as they assist two of their classmates who are in need. We have that full story and more when our news returns.
Now that the summer months are here, the cost of electricity for many residents will begin to skyrocket. Tonight, our Jamila Music is sharing ways you can power your home for less.
With the rising cost of electricity, many Bahamians are now leaning toward more alternative energy solutions. General Manager at Super Green Solutions, Philip Feller, says, while there are some common misconceptions about using solar energy, his advice to residents is to reduce before you produce.
Don't start your efficiency journey with solar. Look at how you can reduce what you're currently consuming before you add solar to the mix, and offsetting and making an already efficient system more efficient rather than making an inefficient home more efficient with just adding solar to it, right?
Now, implementing alternative energy solutions doesn't have to be rocket science. Starters, you can simply start by switching your light bulbs at home to LED bulbs, and that can help you save on electricity.
Your water heater is another source of a lot of electricity use. And is it an older tank or a newer tank? Solar or traditional, gas or electricity, so things like that.
And now that the summer months are here, more Bahamians will be using air conditioning. But Feller says there's a few things you can do to beat the heat without the sweat of higher cost.
Looking at efficiency do you have insulation in your attic so that the air conditioner doesn't have to work so hard? Do you have a solar attic fan that pulls some of that heat out of the attic so your air conditioner doesn't have to work so hard? And then, just operating it efficiently. Don't let it run when you're not there. Maybe have a different set point in the daytime and the nighttime, things like that, just to try to be as efficient with your electricity as you can be.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Missett.
All right, thanks for that, Jamila. Well, there's a culture change needed in the Bahamas when it comes to the way we think about quality regulations and metrology. That's according to Devin Griff, CEO and Chief Brand Strategist of G&A Communications. Put simply, metrology is the science of measurement. Metrology is what makes sure the gallon you pay for at the pump is truly a gallon. The CEO's comments came outside of the 2023 Bahamas National Quality Policy Re-Engagement Forum.
There is some cultural tension, but the key is education. It's about empowering people with the knowledge and making sure that from their perspective, these concepts, these ideas, the idea of metrology and the science of measurement and so on, that they value that. And so it's about making sure that with the marketing program, the language, how we communicate, that we make it simple, it resonates, it's something that is relatable to folks so that in simple language, they can see when we talk about the value, when we talk about the benefits, they can embrace that.
Now, the Chief Brand Strategist says the benefits of standardizing quality and promoting metrology are vast and vital if Bahamian business owners hope to export products internationally. He adds that as metrology opens the world of trade up for the Bahamas more, there will be more opportunities for development and employment as Bahamian companies develop their international reach.
It's a simple idea, and it's all about potential. It's all about the benefit that can be derived for the sectors involved on the commercial side, but even on the consumer side for the members of the public, knowing that you can have a system of manufacturing and commercial activity where quality is at the core, where that you can trust in the system, you can trust the services and the products that are being sold to you, and also for the benefits of every citizen. This is about industrial development, it's about export development.
Sand dollar is on the move. This as the Central Bank of the Bahamas is continuing its educational campaign by encouraging customers to use sand dollar for local purchases. Beginning June 8th and 9th, the Central Bank will launch its sand dollar top-up campaign at SuperValue Golden Gates. Central Bank Deputy Manager of Currency Experience Brett Lashley says it's all a part of their strategy to get sand dollar in the hands of customers.
Customers can show up with their sand dollar wallet. Doesn't matter which wallet you have, any sand dollar enabled wallet. On your way in, we'll give you $20 to spend. Spend $18 or more in sand dollar to make your grocery purchases here at SuperValue. And on your way out, show us your receipt, show us that you paid in sand dollar, and we'll give you another $5 to go spend somewhere else. This is a campaign we'll be rolling out at all SuperValue locations, and it's just the start of a wider rebate program. So customers throughout the summer months can look to shop in sand dollar and save.
And he talks about the ease of using the digital Bahamian currency.
It's an easy, cheap way to transact for customers, for the average user. It's free to send money from sand dollar wallet to sand dollar wallet or to spend money with a merchant. It opens up some possibilities for smaller businesses, especially who may be looking to accept digital payments, might find the cost associated with credit cards a bit high. This is a good way to get into that space of accepting digital payments.
When our news comes back from the break, find out how a group of students in Grand Bahama are assisting two of their very own.
We decided to come together as a school, and the kids donated funds that would help to get her the necessary things that she would need.
Another Bahamian track and field athlete runs a personal best. The Bahamas Track and Field Junior and Senior Nationals are set to go, and the Bahamas Swim Federation has some big developments. Hold tight, Our Sports is up next.
A rainy morning in the capital today, but the evening turned out to be lovely. Greg is back with a check on the forecast when Our News returns.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is Our News. Welcome back. Devin Charlton runs a personal best in Poland, and a big track and field meet is coming up, and the Bahamas Aquatics Federation has some big announcements. Here's Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Tej?
Thanks, Italia. We told you yesterday about Anthony Strawn's heroic performance in Jamaica. Yesterday was Devin Charlton's time to show out on the track. The hurdler had her best race of the season in Poland. Devin Charlton ran a season best at the Irina Shevchinska meet in Bydgoszcz, Poland yesterday. Charlton came in second in the 110-meter hurdles with a time of 12.64 seconds, behind American hurdler Alicia Johnson. While we're talking about track, the 2023 Junior and Senior Track and Field Nationals will take place at the Thomas A. Robinson Stadium next month. Our elite junior and senior athletes will have an opportunity to gain points and increase their world ranking in front of a home crowd. Our Sasha Lightburn reports.
It's not going to be a sporting event you want to miss. That, according to President of the Bahamas Amateur Athletics Association, Dramico Archer, who spoke to Our News about the Junior and Senior Nationals coming up next month. The championship, scheduled for the weekend before Independence, will have a cultural component and feature some of our athletes from the collegiate arena, as well as those competing on the international circuit.
In the aftermath of Carifta, where we saw such a wonderful showcasing from our junior program, I think that to juxtapose the senior program with the junior program is an exciting time for the country. And I'd like to see the Junior Nationals presenting itself as a community event where everyone is involved and everyone is having a good time.
We also asked Archer whether the public could look forward to seeing some of those big-name senior athletes participating.
Because of the ranking system, nationals all around the world accrue some of the largest amount of points that one can have. And so that's an inducement for a lot of our senior athletes to compete here on the Bahamian stage.
Now, whether the meet is in the old TAR or the new TAR, the B3A's president says there will be an entry fee for those who attend.
If it is at the old TAR, if it's at the old Thomas A. Robinson Stadium, then obviously it would be a $10 admission and VIP would be $15. But we've not gotten any confirmation as yet. But if it is at the new stadium, then we'll just have a general admission ticket of $10.
The meet is scheduled for July 7th, 8th, and 9th at the stadium. Reporting for Our Sports, I'm Sasha Lightborn.
Moving on to swimming, the Bahamas Aquatics Federation has a lot going on. The National Swim Championships will be held next week, June 15th through the 18th at the Betty Kelly Kenning National Stadium. The best swimmers from across the country, ages 8 to adulthood, will compete for a chance to qualify for the World Aquatics Meet in Paris in 2024. Before we go, it was announced earlier today that NFL flag football is expanding to the Bahamas. There was a big press conference today. We'll have more on that tomorrow. That's all for sports. I'm Tej Adderley.
Still ahead on Our News tonight, paying it forward. Hear how a school in Grand Bahama is giving back to 2 students who are in need following a fundraising effort.
We would have lost everything in a fire the night before.
And Greg is back with your midweek weather check in the extended forecast when Our News returns. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Our News. A nice evening outside the Our News studios this evening, but how long will these conditions last? Greg is back with your extended weather forecast live. Greg, I understand there's some flood warnings in effect for some parts of the Bahamas.
Yeah, the Department of Meteorology did put out a statement last evening. It's been a warning put out for the central and southeast Bahamas as we expect a lot of moisture across that area. We saw some flooding in some social media posts earlier today, and that is expected to continue through the rest of the week. So we're asking you residents down there to continue to remain vigilant. The reason for that is because we have a dip in the jet stream that's moving out of the Gulf of Mexico. It's approaching us. There's some showers and thunderstorms ahead of that, and that's going to continue to spread across Florida, but the bulk of the moisture is now moving into the central and southeast Bahamas. That will continue the trend through the rest of the week and possibly even into the weekend, and some residual moisture will hang across the area. So this activity could actually go into early next week before we start seeing some clearing. As I mentioned, flooding expected, 4 to 6 inches of rainfall across the central and southeast Bahamas, isolated amounts even up to about 8, maybe even 10 inches. And of course, as I mentioned, social media did paint that picture across the Exumas. We saw some serious flooding down there. This is the visible and radar composite showing the moisture, as I mentioned, and the showers and thunderstorms now spreading across Florida, and we still continue to see that trend across the central and southeast Bahamas. There's a dry slot in between, so the northwest Bahamas could escape a little bit, but we do expect some showers and thunderstorms to continue through our area through the balance of the week. Future forecast showing that's nicely across our area. Big plume of moisture moving across us through Thursday, concentrating really across the central and southeast Bahamas, and then on Friday that will continue with a lot of the activity starting to pull out into the Atlantic, but residual moisture will hang around, so we're looking for more showers and some isolated thunderstorms into the weekend. Boating forecast for the northwest and central islands tonight to tomorrow. Small craft caution in effect. The winds will be out of the south to southwest at around 10 knots tonight, but they pick up to 15 knots tomorrow. Seas running 3 to 5 feet in some northeasterly swells. Your high tide will be at 11:36 tonight for the southeast Bahamas. Caution flag for you down there as well. Southeast to southerly flow 10 to 15 knots, but seas will be running 2 to 3 feet and up to 5 feet in some northeasterly swells. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In the extended forecast, we'll keep the showers and thunderstorm activity through the remainder of the week, mainly for the central and southeast Bahamas, tapering off on the weekend, and then early next week we could see some more showers, but by the middle of next week we expect conditions to be improving. But of course, the central Bahamas is expected to get the bulk of this, so we're asking you to remain vigilant across that area. Talia?
All right, lots of rain. Everyone continue to stay safe.
Yeah, we got a big jump on the rainy season already.
All right, got to keep my umbrella close and my raincoat as well.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much, Greg. Well, now to a story in Grand Bahama as the school is doing their part to give back to their very own after being faced with tragedy. Tonight, we hear from a parent and grandparent who are sharing their personal experiences and thanking Tabernacle Baptist Christian Academy for helping 2 students who are in need.
He has had an ear infection. When his mom went missing, it improved and then it deteriorated. So when we checked with the doctor after it got out of control last October, he suggested that he have a laryngotomy surgery and also to have his tonsils and adenoids removed.
That's the grandmother of Jarion Ford, a student at Tabernacle Baptist Academy who lost his mother during Hurricane Dorian. She says a $20,000 surgery is needed to repair his hearing. As a result, a GoFundMe page was created, but she says it didn't receive much traction. Now the school has stepped in to assist.
Jai is in good spirits. He's been in good spirits over the past months with some challenges. So our goal is just to make sure that we can give him the bright future that his mom would have made sure he had gotten if she was here, with providing the medical attention that he needs. He's an honor roll student, very bright.
But the helping hand did not stop there. Jashelle Bodie, who's a 5th grade student at the school, also receiving some assistance as her family recently lost their home in a fire back in May. Her mother, Michelle Bodie, says the school has been extremely supportive.
They supplied her with everything, even assisting her with a school fee.
As they pick up the pieces, she says they are now in the process of trying to find somewhere to live.
Because the house is insured, but it is believed that it was arson that caused the fire, and so insurance will not be paying.
Both the Bodie and Ford families are thankful for the school's help during their tough times. Tabernacle Baptist Academy principal, Ashell Bain.
We're not just here for academics, we're not just here for athletics, but we are here to teach our kids life skills that one day you'll be in need and you would want somebody to help you.
All right, such a positive story. And to see that story again, you can visit ournews.bs. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.